Welcome, welcome, welcome to your second session at our Equity and eLearning Conference. So glad to have you here. This has been such a fun process to put this together for you guys, and I hope that you will walk away thinking, man, that was a really good use of my Friday afternoon. I also hope that you thoroughly enjoy Dr. Dixon. She is amazing. One of the smartest ladies I know, and I'm super glad that she was able to be the keynote speaker for you all this afternoon. She has some great ideas. I loved all of the points that she made, especially about the equity piece, about knowing your students, about providing feedback to them. It was awesome. So I hope that you enjoyed that as well. Excuse me, random things are popping up on my screen here. Okay, so let's get back to business. My name is Sarah Starr. I am an education consultant with Edmentum. For the past 2 years, I was the lead consultant in North Carolina and had the opportunity to work with a lot of school districts in North Carolina. I recently transitioned to being the lead consultant in South Carolina. So I've been working with the schools there for the past couple of weeks, and I've seen some familiar names already popping up. So hi again, and I look forward to working with you guys more in the future. So before we actually get started with our session today, I wanted to pop up a quick poll for you guys. And sorry about this, my screen is going bananas, isn't it? It is not going to come. Instead of the poll, since it is not launching, what I would like to know is one word to describe how you are feeling right now. In our last group, we had content, we had overwhelmed, we had happy, we had all kinds of different things. So if you want to type that into the chat box, I would love to just get an idea of how everyone is feeling right now on this Friday afternoon. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of different things. We're all feeling a little bit different. So I've got some great, some anxious, some overwhelmed, some tired, some determined. Love that. Focused, hopeful. Those are all great comments. Thank you so much for putting that in. I know that this is such a unique time, something that we have never experienced before, but I will tell you that in the past few weeks working with educators, I have never seen a group of people so determined, so creative. 19 press, 19 it's been press really amazing to see. So it's been amazing with everyone. So thank you for putting that information in for me. Curious, ready, teachable. These are all awesome. Thank you guys so much for that. I love it. A couple of housekeeping things before we get into the content. Number one, if you will go ahead and put yourself on mute if you are not already, that would be awesome. I understand working from home, you know, anything could happen. The mail guy could come and ring the doorbell, or a child could come in the room. That is totally understandable, but if you'll go ahead and put yourself on mute, that's great. As we go through our time together today, I definitely want you to feel comfortable asking any question that may come up, and there are 2 ways that you can do that with me today. First of all, take yourself off of mute and ask the question to the group. Please feel comfortable in doing that. The other option, if you don't want to ask to the group, is to type into the chat box like you were just doing with the way that you're feeling, and I will check that periodically so that I can get those questions and make sure that I respond to them. So let's go ahead and get into it. We are talking about how we are going to shift our mindset to work in the current environment that we're in. And I know you guys have already been working on that. Some of you probably which some of you, it looks like from some of your comments, are still kind of struggling with this new study that we're in right now, which is totally for how you can shift that mindset and be able to work with your students. So first thing that we are going to be talking about is synchronous versus asynchronous learning and what that actually means and what that looks like, okay? So we're going to talk about those definitions and how I'm relating that to instruction, and then we're going to talk about some examples of what that's going to look like. The next thing that we're going to focus on is lesson planning, and I'm not taking this as you guys don't know how to create a lesson plan for your students. I know that you do. My intent with this is to show you an example of a lesson plan that I have created for a week's time that follows that synchronous and asynchronous approach, okay? So again, you guys know how to create lesson plans. This is just going to be an example for you, and I will be providing this lesson plan template to you after today's session. Since you registered, I have your email address, and I'll be sending not only a recording of today's session, but that information as well. The last thing that we're going to talk about is the ways in which we can deliver this content either synchronously or asynchronously with our students. And if you are a current Edmentum customer, I'm going to talk about some of the programs that we have and some of the components of those programs that you can use. If you're not, we'll talk about some other approaches as well. So without further ado, let's get into the synchronous and asynchronous content here. So when we talk about synchronous instructional delivery, what I'm referring to is an instructional approach where students are engaged in learning all at the same time. So if we think about what that looks like in the traditional classroom setting, we are providing that direct instruction. You know, we are perhaps standing in front of our students and we're doing a whole group activity, or we are on the carpet with our students delivering a mini lesson, but everybody is getting the same content at the same time. In this current learning environment, obviously that, sitting next to each other approach is not going to happen. So what can we do virtually with students, okay? So one of the approaches that synchronous learning is direct instruction through some sort of video conferencing tool, okay? That could be through Zoom, which we are currently using, through a Google Hangout, through Microsoft Teams, or some other virtual platform that allows you to see your students and connect with them in real time. I did, reference Zoom. We're using Zoom today. I know that some school districts are not using Zoom with their students. That is completely understandable, but there are some other platforms out there that are available for you that you can definitely use, okay? So the next approach to that is guided practice. And again, using some sort of platform where you are able to have your students work on a specified set of questions or activity, and you are there to answer questions and guide them through, just like you would in the classroom. Interactive webinars and live chat forums are also great approaches for that synchronous learning. Now, when we're talking about asynchronous learning, we're talking about instruction or practice where students are engaged in learning on their own. So when we're thinking about when our students are in the classroom with us, that's going to be that independent practice time. Or perhaps it's a small group of students during station rotation, and you're not directly working with them, they're working independently. This can take a lot of different approaches in a virtual learning environment, one of those being recorded video lessons. So instead of using Zoom or Google Hangout in a live setting, you could also record yourself delivering that direct instruction and send the video to your students to view at a later time. Think about the opportunity to read aloud a text to your students, record that, and send that to them. You may not be teaching them a new concept, but oftentimes, especially if we're at the elementary level, that's one of their most favorite parts of the day. So being able to record yourself doing that and share that with your students. independent practice where you're assigning them something and then obviously reviewing the results later, discussion boards, and of course emailing between the student and the teacher. I'm going to pause right there and just see if there are any questions about the synchronous and asynchronous approach, or any questions in particular, okay? And yes, there was a question about this being recorded because somebody's having trouble with their internet. Yes, this is going to be recorded, or it is recorded right now, and I will be sending out the recording to all of you when we are finished today. Okay, so it doesn't look like I have any questions at the time, so let's go ahead and move on to the next component here. So what we're going to be talking about next is that lesson planning piece. So what does the synchronous and asynchronous approach look like when we're creating lessons for our students? So that's what. And again, I will share this lesson plan with you if that's something that you are interested in, so that you can tweak it and make it your own or use exactly what is in here. I'm comfortable with either one. All right, so scroll back up here to the top. This is actually a lesson plan for an Algebra 1 class, but obviously it can be used for any class, any course, any grade level. So let's take a look at kind of how I have planned out the week. So you can see here at the top of the screen that I have a designated day for this approach. So Monday and Wednesday are my synchronous days. So these are the days that I'm going to be providing some sort of direct instruction, whole group instruction or activity with my students. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, that is going to be those are going to be my asynchronous days. So those are going to be the days where I am assigning work or an activity for students to complete independently. However, as you're going to see in just a minute, I'm going to still be available for them, okay? Don't want them to be completely on their own. I still want to be available for them. And then Friday, I have designated as my flex day. That way, if things didn't go as planned, which, you know, let's face it, guys, it doesn't always do that. I have Friday to work with students one-on-one or in a small group or just start over and do something different. Next on my lesson plan, I have my objectives here. I just wanted to make sure that I had those fresh in my mind as I was creating the lesson plan. And then let's take a look at Monday. So just before we get into the details for Monday, I do want you to notice that I do have an activate prior knowledge. I have a mini lesson opportunity each day, or something that's going to look like that, guided practice, independent practice, closure, and then finally I do have some homework there. So I've got everything that's available. And, you know, depending on the age level of your student, you could provide them with this lesson plan. This is, you know, obviously for Algebra 1, these are going to be your 8th or 9th grade students. I have links in this lesson plan, so I could share this with them so they could go directly to the links to walk through the lesson with me. Now let's move back up to the top for Monday and activating prior knowledge. So what I have here is a question. And I use a program of courseware to create this lesson. So the first thing I do is go into this discussion, and I'm going to have my students respond in real time to this question. So we're going to be live and doing this together. Slowly but surely coming up. Here we go. Here's my discussion question. Okay, so why is it important to keep the two sides of an equation balanced when solving? So forth and so on. I would do just as I'm doing with you now, and I would pop this up on the screen and allow my students to come off of mute or type into chat or whatever format is available so that they can help me answer this question. The next component to my lesson is the mini lesson. So within courseware, if you're not familiar, we have tutorials built in that go along with the various topics within the content area. So what I'm having the students do with me during this mini lesson is to navigate through slides 1 through 10. We're going to use that as our mini lesson. I'm going to be walking them through each one of the slides and having the students go through guided notes that I've provided for them through courseware as we go through the tutorial. Once we finish the mini lesson, students are going to work on slide 11 as guided practice. I'm going to be there with them. We're going to do it together so that I know they understand what we did in the previous section in that mini lesson and be able to answer questions and troubleshoot if needed. As far as the independent practice goes, I'm going to have my kiddos stay on the line if at all possible and work on their independent practice, but I'm going to be available in case there is a question and I need to help. Finally, with the closure, I'm going to ask them to email me a response to a question as their exit ticket, and then for their homework, they're going to be creating flashcards, okay? So you can see everything that starts with that activating prior knowledge portion all the way down through the independent practice is us working together if at all possible, okay? Now, one of the questions that I had from my previous group is, how long do you think all of this is going to take? I am hoping, my goal is that from the activating prior knowledge to the independent practice, we are spending no more classes. Our description for them, but in a succinct amount of time to all. Another question that I had from the previous group was, what do you recommend if students can't join you during that designated time, which I thought was a fabulous question. First of all, one of my recommendations is to record the session. That way, if you are able to record the session, you can send it out to the students that were unable to attend, and they would still be able to hear your instruction. They would also be able to hear any questions that the other students asked. So it would be like they were there. So that would be the best thing, okay? Yes, I'm going to share the lesson plans with the links there, so you can take a look at that. And yes, as far as how long my session would last, we can have everything in it. Let's see if we can. Any other questions? Have had any other questions? Sorry, guys, working on that. Okay, so let's go on to Tuesday. What we can do with our students on Tuesday. So again, Tuesday. Okay, sorry. So answer for how long again? So 30 to 40 minutes. Yes, I can do that. Hold on just a second. We'll get that going. Give me just a second, guys. Okay, does that seem to be better now? All right. Hopefully, okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, you guys are awesome. Okay, so let's take a look at Tuesday. Again, Tuesday is our asynchronous day. So students are going to be working primarily on their own during this asynchronous day. The first thing that I have for activating prior knowledge, and again, you'll be able to see this and link to this, is actually a video. So this video comes from courseware, and I would have the students watch this video before they got started with the lesson, okay? Again, providing this lesson plan for them, especially if they're older students, it has all the links in it, so they're able to very quickly go in and watch that video. And it's just about making sure that their equations are balanced. Now, it's in the mini lesson section here, you can see, but I'm not actually providing a mini lesson for them because this is not direct instruction day. So what I am doing is I am going to provide the students, ask them to complete an assignment, and I am going to be available as they're working to assist and answer questions. So what this would kind of look like is office hours. I could set up a Zoom call, a Google Hangout call, Microsoft Teams, either one of those components, and have it open so that students could join that call if they had questions about the assignments, or I could just be available via email if that was a better platform for those students. But I am going to be available during office hours on Tuesday so that students can ask questions of me regarding their assignment. Obviously no guided practice that day since they're working independently, but for their independent practice, what I'm gonna have them do is work through the remainder of the slides of the tutorial. On Monday, if you remember, we worked through slides 1 through 12. So independently, they're gonna work through slides 13 through 19, okay? And again, I'm available to ask questions to and help in any way through those office hours. I will require some sort of exit ticket to ensure that this work was done, probably via email again, and then I do have a practice session down here as well as reviewing flashcards that they made from the previous day as their homework. So that's what an asynchronous day would look like for me. Then my lesson plan just continues on. As far as Wednesday goes, we're back to a synchronous approach. So we're going to be working together through a collaboration space. Then we'll be doing an assignment together, so forth and so on. So you can kind of get the idea of what the remainder of the week would look like. So let me pause here and see if there are any questions about the lesson planning part. Perfect. All right, so let's go on to what resources do we have to be able to use to create these lesson plans. All right, so a couple of things we've already talked about, right? We've talked about the Zoom, we've talked about Google Hangouts, and we've talked about Microsoft Teams. But let me share with you some resources that are available if you are currently an Edmentum partner. And if you're not, then I can definitely answer some questions about these if you'd like. The first one here is the Edmentum collaboration space, okay? This collaboration space right now is available to you if you have ExactPath or if you have courseware, okay? That space will be available in some of our other programs at a later date, but we right now have it in the ExactPath or the courseware platform, and I'm going to show you an example of that collaboration space in just a second. It provides for you a whiteboard. You invite students into that collaboration space. They can see your whiteboard. You can share the controls with them so that they can write on that whiteboard. You can upload documents. You can upload videos. It is amazing. So I'll show you that in just a few minutes. That whiteboard space is also very similar, or collaboration space is very similar in Microsoft Teams. So if you are using that platform to communicate with your students, you do have the ability to do something very similar in Microsoft Teams. And yes, just had a question about, will this be shared, the lesson plan? Yes, I'm going to email the lesson plan template to you when I email the recording to you as well. I have everyone's email addresses from when you registered for today's session, so I will be sending that out to you. As far as other Edmentum programs, if you are a Study Island user, a couple of things that I highly recommend in this virtual learning environment would be group sessions. They are a Kahoot on steroids, essentially, and are phenomenal in getting students engaged and providing you immediate assessment feedback, okay, immediate. So those can be set up and shared with your students. The content search feature in Study Island allows you to not only assign things to your student based on your standards, but it also allows you to launch an activity, a practice session, or a lesson in real time. So you could use that for your mini lesson. If you launched a practice session, you could do that together during that synchronous day, okay? So that is a great tool. Within your teacher toolkit in Study Island, you have lesson plans, you have videos, you have project-based learning ideas, tons of things that you can use. My main goal today in sharing with you these ways to deliver the content is that I know you are out of your comfort zone in this situation, and I don't want you to feel like you have to create these things to provide the synchronous and asynchronous delivery. They're there for you. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of getting used to where they're located. As far as courseware goes, there are the tutorials, the discussion questions like I showed you before, as well as mastery quizzes. In ExactPath, there are learning path resources, videos, as well as full lesson plans with differentiation options, as well as any resource that you need to fully teach that lesson. And then finally, if you have reading eggs, there are PowerPoints available for you in reading eggs all the way from kindergarten level up to a 6th grade level that will provide you with comprehension lessons, inferencing, anything that you can think of to help your students become better readers. The best thing about those PowerPoints is they are editable. So you could save them, tweak them to make them your own, and then use those either on a synchronous day or an asynchronous day, because you could easily record yourself and have your students watch that on a non-direct instruction day. There are also teacher and student PDFs in Reading Eggs that provide lesson planning ideas or resources for your students. And there are also interactive writing lessons. Now, this is certainly not a comprehensive list of everything that's available for you in those programs, but I did just want to point out a couple of things that I think would be most beneficial for you right now to get started with things. So talk to me now about questions that you have. I've thrown a lot at you. We do have a few minutes before we are done with our time today, and I do want to definitely, make sure that I address those questions. So what do you have? I'm so glad you're excited. If you can't tell, I am too. I love this stuff. It definitely gets me going in the morning to be able to work with teachers about these ideas. So I'm super excited that you're excited as well. Okay, since I don't have any questions coming in, I would like to show you that collaboration space. If you do have ExactPath or courseware. So let me show these to you. And yes, you will receive the recording for today's session. Great question. You're going to receive the lesson plan that I showed you just a minute ago, and I can also show you, share with you my PowerPoint slides so that you have that list of resources that I mentioned. So you're going to get everything today, and I'm probably going to throw some other resources in there as well, just to make sure that you have everything that you need. Okay. All right. So here is that collaboration space if you are a courseware or ExactPath customer. So I'm logged in here as a teacher, and on the black toolbar at the top of my screen, I am right now on the Edmentum Sensei page. So if you have courseware or you have ExactPath, you're going to have the Edmentum Sensei page. One of my school districts earlier this week was having trouble finding the Edmentum Sensei page. So what one of their awesome colleagues found out was that if you click on this little envelope over here, hey, Mr. Patterson, if you, sorry, just saw one of my former principals there. If you click on this little envelope in the top right-hand corner, it will take you to that Edmentum Sensei page, okay? You can see here that I have the collaborations already created for a couple of other classes, but simply to do that, you're going to go up to collaboration here on the white toolbar. You will click on create collaboration over on the right-hand side of your screen. Fill in the information here, class title, so this will be something that your students will see. Start date and time, as well as an end date and time. And we'll just make this tonight at some point, okay? Right now you can see that I am the only member. I'm in here as teacher number 11, but to add my students to be able to collaborate with me, I'm gonna click on the add members here on the right-hand side of the screen. I'll type in the last name of my students, and then click on the plus button next to their name to add them to this collaboration space, okay? So you can see down here at the bottom, those students have been added. Now I'm gonna save and close. When my students log into their Edmentum platform for courseware or ExactPath, they're gonna have an alert that tells them that they've been invited to this collaboration space and they're gonna be able to join in immediately. Now for me to start this with my students, I'm gonna click on launch here on the right-hand side. And now you can see after it connects, I'm gonna have this whiteboard space and a great area for my students, okay? So let me just highlight a couple of the features here for this whiteboard space or the collaboration tool. Right now there's no active presenter, but I'm going to click on my name so that I can present to my students. Now, as they log in, their names are gonna populate here so that I can make them presenters and they can write on the whiteboard as well, okay? So now that I am the presenter, I can go ahead and put a math equation up here that we can solve together, okay? So this would be an opportunity where I could now allow one of my students to present and they could tell me and write on the board here that the answer is 7. We have a chat feature over on the side, so we could type messages to each other. They can chat back and forth with me. I have some various tools down here at the bottom of the screen which allow me to highlight. I can add a chart here. This little square root sign gives me a calculator. I also have the ability on the left-hand side of my screen to add a video for students to watch, add a document for students to watch, and comment down at the bottom or show that chat information, okay? So this is a great tool, again, for you to be able to use. And like I mentioned before, there are similar spaces for this collaboration tool in Microsoft Teams, I know for sure, that are available. Okay, so questions that I'm getting. So the board that I'm talking about right now is called a collaboration space or a whiteboard within the courseware or ExactPath platforms. Let's see, some other questions, and hopefully I'll be able to get to everybody's. Okay, so one of the questions that I got just now and that I've gotten in the previous session was, how do I get students to participate in the synchronous learning approach? And, you know, gosh, I wish I had an answer for that and a quick fix. Unfortunately, I don't. But a couple of things that we talked about in the last group were, you know, providing incentives. providing a point system for your students if they attend those sessions. Using an honor code system, making sure that they are, logging in, doing the work that they're supposed to do. I think that it's difficult in the situation that we're currently in to have hard and fast rules for all of our students because of their living situations, what's available for them. We could have a situation where there are 4 siblings with only one device, or perhaps there is no internet available. Perhaps mom is a single parent home, like Dr. Dixon mentioned, and the parent works all of the time. So I think that, we need to encourage them as much as possible, but also be flexible, provide grace for these students, and just understand that the majority of them are doing the very best that we can. We know that there are some outliers that just are not showing up, but we understand that the majority of them are doing the very best that they can. So again, I wish that I had a better answer for you in that regard, but unfortunately, I just don't think that there is a one way that's going to get everybody locked in. Is there an easy way to load students when a teacher goes to multiple schools? The whiteboard ability is awesome because not every classroom has an electronic whiteboard from school to school. Absolutely. So is there an easy way to load students when a teacher goes to multiple schools? Are you referring to that collaboration space and having them loaded into the space? Just wanted to clarify on that. And I'll tell you what, yes, okay. So unfortunately, no. The best way to be able to add them in is to just type in their last name to pull them up. You don't have to designate a school. If you have access to those students, it will pull them in automatically to you. So it's not like you have to choose school A. If you are tagged to that student, it will show you if you type in their name. So the initial setup does take a few minutes, but once they're set up, they're set up. And you could easily use that collaboration space multiple times. So I hope that helps. One of the questions I got was about the group sessions in Study Island, and could I demonstrate that? I would love to. I wish that we had more time to be able to do that, but I'll tell you what I will do. I will provide for you in the email that I send out later a group session document as well as a video. That way you can see how to set those up and what it's going to look like when you do have that set up. So hopefully that will be helpful for you. So guys, we have about 2 minutes left until we are done with our time today. So if you have additional questions, go ahead and shoot them in the chat box now. If not, thank you so very much for your time today. I do hope that it was beneficial for you. I will send out all of this information to you no later than Monday afternoon so that you can have the recording, the lesson plans, the group session information, everything that I promised you, and so that you can start implementing it with your students ASAP. I hope that you all have an amazing weekend. I hope that your time today and all of your sessions has been great. And I hope that I get to work with you all in the very near future. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you soon.